Call 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE. 877-26-BIBLE.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Are you in search of a new pickup? Well, why not trust the team at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, as they currently have great deals on all kinds of trucks. Get yourself into a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 pickup with 5.9% APR plus $3,250 purchase allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Or get a 2024 GMC Sierra 2500 pickup with 5.9% for 84 months. As always, go to hurlchev.com to schedule any service or check out what's on the lot, or just stop on by in South Goodland.
Your Cheyenne County Hospital in St. Francis offers you a quality rehabilitation department. This includes a variety of staff that provides physical therapy, occupational therapy, aquatic therapy, speech therapy, and women's health. To schedule an appointment, call 785-332-2104. Again, that's 785-332-2104. The Cheyenne County Hospital on 210 West Street in St. Francis.
If you're looking for a more convenient way to access your funds and view your account, then sign up today for Internet Banking. Internet Banking allows you to view your accounts from your computer or even your phone. You can easily transfer between your accounts, view which checks have cleared, send payments through our Bill Pay feature, and even deposit your checks by taking a picture of them. Internet Banking will make your banking experience easy. If you'd like to sign up for Internet Banking, come see me, Victoria Ratcliffe, today at 202 East 11th Street in Goodland, FNB Bank, member FDIC.
Summertime is here, and so are your local Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware stores with anything and almost everything you need for these warm days. Give your place a new look with Benjamin Moore paints. Keep your lawn looking its best with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. And they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills from Traeger and Weber, plus the popular flat-top Blackstone griddles. Find it all and much more at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Colby and Goodland, open every day but Sunday.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
The Chevy Summer Drive event is going on right now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Right now, you can get a Chevy Silverado 1500 pickup with up to $5,750 of total rebates when you trade in an eligible vehicle, or get 1.9% financing on select 2023 and 24 model Chevrolets, plus no payments for 90 days. As always, go to hurlchev.com to schedule any service or check out what's on the lot, or just stop on by in South Goodland.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Give me my cane. I'll show you how to play this game.
The region's only local sports talk.
Dynamite drop-in at broadcast school has really paid off.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Touchdown, the Cowboys!
To the pros.
And Temby back on the track. It's out of here. Bobby Witt Jr. delivers a go-ahead grand slam.
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and FNB Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. Vinny hits a ground ball, base hit right field. Garcia scores. Here's Junior, and he's in there. 95 RBIs for Vinny.
0-1 pitch is hit up the middle. Tovar's got it behind second. On to first. Ball game. Angel Chivigi got his first big league win on Sunday. He gets his first major league save here on Tuesday. Rockies take game one in D.C. Rossi turns on it, sends it in the air. 2 games, 2 big swings, 2 home runs. God bless America! God bless our troops! And gentlemen, let's play ball!
Hey, happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us on the Morning Blitz here on this August 21st. So glad you could be with us here. 68 degrees here to kick off this Wednesday morning. It's the, at least in Goodland, it's the final day of summer, if that's what you want to call it. School starts tomorrow, I know, for Goodland, and I'm sure other area schools, I know Colby and other area schools, Hoxie, are all back in session already. But, and for those Goodland kids out there, suck up the final day of summer today as we are back to work tomorrow. But glad you be with us here on the Morning Blitz on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and 730 Gold KLOE. Also, of course, online nwksradio.net and Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube with the Hurl streaming, with a video streaming via Hurl Chevrolet GMC. So glad that you could be with us here on this Wednesday morning. As we got a big show ahead today where we will continue with our area high school football previews. We'll be talking with Hoxie High School head football coach Lance Barr today, getting an update on Hoxie Indian football, and today kind of doing some kind of research prior to this interview with Coach Barr. There's a good chance that Hoxie's going to be making a deep run into the postseason. They're going to have some good teams, of course, along the way. Rollins County is going to be a good team again this year with Ryan Schramek, who's one of the top players in Kansas, and there's going to be some other good team. Of course, we can't count out Wichita County. They played for a state title last year, came up a little bit short against Linden, but there's a lot of good 8-man football teams around the region in western Kansas, but I think Hoxie is going to be one of those top teams. They return a lot of key pieces off of last year's team that lost by 2 in their third round of the playoffs. So, like I said, I think it could be a really big year for Hoxie High football. A very senior-laden group, has a lot of experience, and they were big-time winners last year, going 9-2, and I think they're only going to build upon that here in the 2024 season. So really looking forward to that conversation with Lance Barr coming up in about 20 minutes near the bottom of the hour. We will also, on today's show, get into a very interesting story out of Stillwater, Oklahoma. That will be in segment number 3. But we got plenty of things to get to talk about in the first segment, and we do it best with the front page.
Read all about it. Read all about it.
The top stories of today.
I got the early edition, hot off the press.
It's the front page on the Morning Blitz.
Front page, really?
Starting things off first and foremost with Keisha Covered, once again continuing to roll out some preseason previews, and multiple area volleyball players, and I do mean multiple, 11 to be exact, were honored by Keisha Covered with these articles that came out just a couple days, actually over the last handful of days, I should say. They've gone through all the classifications, and after going through 3A, 2A, 1A, D1, 1A, D2, and a great number of athletes getting recognized for that. We'll start with the bigger classification. The lone 3A athlete mentioned was Colby's Elizabeth Barton, and she was named the only 3A lady. She's been a great player for them pretty much since she was late freshman, early sophomore year. She's been one of their best players on the volleyball floor, and I expect her to have a great senior season as well. She's a great multi-sport athlete, not only in volleyball, but in basketball and track as well. As many people around these parts know, she's one of the best athletes around on the female side. I expect her to have a great senior year, and I expect Colby to be extra hungry this year in all their sports. They've kind of always been the bridesmaid, never the bride, to use that term. Because Goodland's always seemed to kind of get the best of them, whether it was in basketball or volleyball over the last few years. I expect Colby to be extra hungry this year with a very senior-laden group, and no doubt leading that, being the tip of the spear, leading that should be Elizabeth Barton. And she's, an all-league player in pretty much anything she does, and I expect her to have a great year. So no surprise to me that she was the lone 3A lady named, according to Keisha Covered, as players to watch coming up here in 2024. A couple of 2A players, Hoxie's Emily Boehner and Wichita County's Emma Burning. I know Wichita County a little bit on the outskirts of us, but they play a lot of the regional teams. But Boehner and Burning both named from the 2A classification. Emily Boehner is another one of those young ladies who's played a lot of. She's a great multi-sport athlete. She's played a lot ever since she was young, and she's highly talented. Saw that on the basketball floor in person last year when the Cowgirls played there, and Hawks team came up just a bit short. She's a very talented athlete. But Emily Boehner and Emma Burning getting named in the 2A classification. 1A D1 classification, Tayton Dewey of Rollins County and Avery Jensen of St. Francis were recognized. Tayton Dewey had a great year last year, kind of came onto the scene strong. Avery Jensen of St. Francis, a lady that I hope to learn more about as the season progresses on for St. Francis. But those two girls coming up in 1A D1. And 6 ladies were named in 1A D2. A lot more smaller schools out here in the West, so you see a lot more ladies named. Jaden Daly of Wallace County, who's been a great player for Wallace County for many years. Emily Heyer and Jocelyn Perez of Wheatland Grinnell, who have a big shoes to fill. I think Heyer is kind of the setter there, and you got Perez, who's going to have to take the spot of being the team's leader when it comes to attacking because of Caroline Schrader graduating, who was so great for so many years. But Wheatland Grinnell has been a volleyball power for the last handful of years, and they've got to find a way to keep that success rolling, and those ladies are going to have to step up. Also, great story we've talked about with our good friend Connor. Oh my goodness, now I'm losing my mind from the not the Hayes Daily News anymore, but on 3 Connor Nickel. There we go, lost my mind there. We'll have him on the show sometime soon. But Jaden Mangan and Jaden Stewart of Greeley County, they have had some really good female athletes come through their program, really young but very talented. And they're getting the recognition that they deserve here coming into the 2024 season. And finally, Shilen's Taylor McCarty, who's just a sophomore, but already has a Division I basketball offer for her great freshman campaign. And when you're a great athlete in a small school like Shilen, you're going to play multiple sports more than likely, and that means you're going to get recognized in volleyball as well, where she was very good too. So a lot of young ladies getting recognized. Once again, 11 total. By Keisha Covered. Once again, Colby's Elizabeth Barton, Hoxie's Emily Boehner, Emma Burning of Wichita County, Tayton Dewey of Rollins County, Avery Jensen of St. Francis, Jaden Daly of Wallace County, Emily Heyer and Jocelyn Perez of Wheatland Grinnell, Jaden Mangan and Jaden Stewart of Greeley County, and Shilen's Taylor McCarty. All the ladies named by Keisha Covered as players to watch ahead of the 2024 high school volleyball season. Continuing on the front page here, we move into college football, where news came down yesterday. It was not surprising news, but I think it was what's the word I'm going to use here? It's not surprising news, but gosh, I can't think of the right word I want to use. But it was good news for Kansas fans, is what I want to say. As quarterback Jalen Daniels announced as the starter for the upcoming opener on the 29th against Lindenwood, which should be an easy win. I would assume Jalen Daniels should only play maybe a half, and that should be about it. But he is going to be under center. He is healthy and ready to go into this upcoming season, which, once again, we've talked on this show many times, and even yesterday with the voice of Kansas State, Wyatt Thompson. By the way, if you missed that conversation, check out the podcast. It was a great conversation where I asked Wyatt, who do you think is going to be the biggest contenders to Kansas State in the Big 12? And he said Utah and Kansas. And I think the biggest reason why Kansas can continue to have success is if Jalen Daniels can be healthy. And so, once again, he's been an electric player. He's a great dual threat guy, can throw it, can run it, but has dealt with injuries after injuries. If he can stay healthy, he can put up great numbers. For example, thrown for 2,700 yards and 23 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions over 12 games the past 2 seasons. Those numbers are deceiving because he didn't play full games in those several instances. So he's put up those kind of numbers, and he really hasn't been playing that much. So Jalen Daniels looks to be ready to rock and roll at the opener against Lindenwood. I expect to only play a half. They'll have a much different test the following week against Illinois. But that's a great sign for Kansas fans. Jalen Daniels is full go, ready to go for this upcoming season, which I think, once again, if the chips fall correctly, they're going to be in a great spot to compete for a Big 12 title. And if you do that, that means you're also going to be a great spot for the playoff. And who would have thought? I was thinking about this on the drive home yesterday. If you would have come to me or any probably KU fan and said, hey, It's 2021, or I was trying to think like the last year of Les Miles. But hey, the last year Les Miles comes, hey, you know what? KU is going to be playing for a college football playoff spot in less than 5 years. And you've been like, you are on something, my friend. You're on something. That'd been crazy talk. But you know what? The right man was hired for the job. He's done a great job developing. Got a great beard, too, by the way. He's growing. Everyone's growing out the beards nowadays. It seems like all the coaches are. And Lance Leipold is doing the same. I saw that at his press conference yesterday. But anyway, Lance Leipold and he's doing the right. He's the right man for the job, and he stuck around. Even though I think he had opportunities to go other spots, he has stuck around there at Kansas, and they have backed him with financial stability, not only in his pocketbook but also with facilities. And that ship is quickly turned and is going in the right direction, full steam. And it's only going to pick up more steam if they stay healthy this year, especially their key playmakers. We talked about they got 3 guys and probably could have 4 inside the top 200 players in college football, maybe even more. But Jalen Daniels is going to start the opener. He is healthy and ready to go. Moving on into baseball last night, winner for the Rockies. They get a great start from Austin Gomber. Ryan McMahon had a couple of hits, drove in a run. Rockies win 3-1 over the Nats last night in the nation's capital. Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle each had a couple of hits for Colorado. Nolan Jones back off the injured list went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. Great defensive play as well out in left field with a great catch. Gomber, 96 pitches, striking out 5, walking 2, completing 7 innings. That was for the 5th time this season that he's gone over 7+ innings, which is great for Austin Gomber. He's quietly had a good season. Quietly, very, very quietly, had a good season. He's been able to be out there pitching a lot. Hasn't always resulted in wins, but he has eaten up innings for that Rockies pitching staff, which we know is maligned at best. So Rockies get the win. That series continues this evening with Game 2 against the Nationals, who, by the way, the Rockies have won now what is, I think, 3 of their last 4 ball games? Yeah, so they're once again playing a little bit better baseball here after the All-Star break. They are. And the Royals, they had their 5-game winning streak snapped last night at the K, losing 9-5 to the Angels. The Royals had not trailed during the 5-game winning streak, but the Angels struck first, got up 2-0 in the 4th, and that ended that streak. Royals answered back with a couple of runs in the bottom of the 4th inning, but 7 runs from that point forward allowed by Kansas City pitching was hard to overcome for the Royals offense, who still gave it their best effort. Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, were very good. Pasquantino had 3 RBIs, and Bobby Witt Jr. had 3 hits and drove in a run. Cole Reagans, he took the loss, allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned on 3 hits. So didn't pitch bad, only 3 hits, but 5 runs, that stings. And struck out 9, did hit a batter 2. But that series is now split a game apiece, and it concludes tonight at 7:10 Central Time. And boy, The Athletic, if you haven't gotten a chance to read this article on The Athletic about Bobby Witt Jr. and what he's been doing. We had this conversation just a few weeks ago with Christian. We were talking about this deal with Bobby Witt Jr. and an MVP race with Aaron Judge. And it really is going to come down to the voters on what they think is impressive. And I think Christian was probably right in his point of saying, hey, home runs are sexier. That's what they're going to do, yada, yada, yada. But honestly, if you want to kind of go with, and I think Aaron Judge is a very complete player. I think he's a plus defender. He really hits the ball well for power. He does okay for average. I think he's a very good player. I don't take anything away from Aaron Judge. But what Bobby Witt Jr. is doing this season is absolutely ridiculous. You know, Bobby Witt Jr. could be the first player in decades since 2004 to hit 400 at home. These are some of the names. Now, the funny thing is there's 4 Rockies on this list, which we'll get to that in just a second. But there are 4 Rockies on this list. But he would be one of, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'd be one of 11 guys to hit 400 or better at home. These are some of the names that are in there. Since Ted Williams, by the way, did it back in 1941. So let's see. There are guys like Wade Boggs, Barry Bonds, Larry Walker. These are some of the names that Bobby Witt Jr. is kind of getting compared to with his hitting ability at the K. Now, there's 4 Rockies on this list, which is funny. Larry Walker, Jeff Cirillo, Eric Young Sr., and Andres Galarraga. Those 4 guys. Now, what do the Rockies have that would help them hit 400 at home? Well, a big ballpark. Did you know that the Rockies have the biggest ballpark in all of Major League Baseball, at least outfield-wise? The biggest outfield? You know what the second one is? Kansas City. That's the second biggest one, which I find fascinating. So the 2 teams that we cover the most here on the Blitz have the biggest outfields, which I think is great, because that allows you to, if you can, put the ball in the gaps. But there were some interesting stats in this article, which once again, The Athletic has it. The MLB staff did a great job with this article. And, right now, Bobby Witt Jr. leads the majors with a .352 batting average, rates as both the fastest man and best defender in the game, and he's with American League MVP frontrunner Aaron Judge as the only players above 8 wins above replacement this season. He's doing that. He's on track to be the first major leaguer in 20 years to bat 400 at home after going 3 for 5 last night. He's hitting .405 in 281 plate appearances at Kauffman Stadium this year. He is taking advantage of what he has at home. That is simply the facts. Now, the funny thing is, Witt hit his 25th homer this season. It was a second deck blast and would have been out of any major league park this past Friday in Cincinnati. Witt's projected home run total, if he played in Cincinnati, which doesn't have as big of a yard, especially in the outfield, would be 39. That's 14 more homers. So the ballpark, the K, the Kauffman Stadium, is hurting Bobby Witt's ability or chances of being the American League MVP because he plays in a big yard and Aaron Judge plays in a smaller yard there in New York. Simple as that. Now, I'm not saying if Aaron Judge played at the K or wherever else that he wouldn't have great numbers. He probably still would. But it was an interesting article that the ballpark that Bobby Witt plays in, he's getting more hits. They'll not be long balls. See, that's once again, it's going to come down to the voters to say, well, geez, look at this guy. Yes, he's done that many home runs, but he's hitting the ball more. He's putting the gap. He's stealing more bases. He's playing just as good, if not better, defense. All that stuff. I still think there is a legitimate chance that Bobby Witt Jr. ends up being the American League MVP this year. I really do think so. The Royals are now, well, after that loss last night, they're still 15 games above 500, but if they would have won last night, they would have been 16 games above 500, which would have tied for their best record since they won the World Series back in 2005. So, like I said, this article, you got to go check it out. There's some great stats in there also for Rockies fans as well, talking about Larry Walker and those guys and how they hit the ball that well in Coors Field, which made sense, and almost other great stuff. There's just so many great stats. And there was another one here I want to find before I get out of here. Let's see. Oh, when a 3-hit road game, so this past Friday in Cincinnati, in that 3-hit road game for Bobby Witt Jr., he became the 3rd Royals player with 25 homers and 25 steals in consecutive seasons, joining Carlos Beltran and Bo Jackson. Once again, and let's see here. Witt has had 17 3-hit games in Kansas City this season, including a stretch in July of 6 or 7 home games. Today, it's hard to hit for average Today, it's as hard to hit for average as it has been since 1968. The league-wide batting average is .244. For home teams, it's .245. At Kauffman Stadium, it's .259. Witt is hitting, once again, .405. He's in another stratosphere, folks. I'm telling you right now. Bobby Witt Jr. for MVP. It's what he should be. He should be. I know Aaron Judge has got a couple of them already. And I just think Bobby Witt Jr., with the way he's playing this year, he deserves the MVP. I totally think that he does. Anyway, once again, Royals lose to the Angels 9-5, despite Bobby Witt Jr. continue to be blistering hot at home. That series concludes tonight, 7:10 Central Time on AM 790 KXPX. It is the rubber match game. We'll see who wins between the Angels and the Royals. There you go. There's the front page for you here on the Morning Blitz. We'll take a break. Coming up, we will be joined on the phone, the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, by Lance Barr, Hoxie High School head football coach, longtime coach there at Hoxie. He's had a lot of great success, including state championships, among the highest things that he's accomplished. But he's got himself another really good team this upcoming season, and look forward to hearing what he has to say on that. Also, stick around later in the show. An interesting story out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and the Oklahoma State football team. That's all coming up next here on a Wednesday edition of the Morning Blitz.
In recent months, some people looking for Midwest Energy on Google have reported sponsored ads pop up with different phone numbers connecting them to scammers. When online, always look closely at links and phone numbers before clicking or calling. Midwest Energy's only phone number is 1-800-222-3121. Any other number, and it's likely a scam. Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative making energy work for you.
It's time now for news from the world of agriculture on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
For the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network, I'm Caitlin Walters. Senator Jerry Moran recently traveled to the Farnborough Air Show to promote Kansas aviation, and he talks about why the aviation industry is so important to the Kansas economy.
Well, it's true that when I'm in Western Kansas, we talk a lot about agriculture, and it is the way that we earn a living, and there's not a part of Kansas that isn't impacted by whether or not farmers and ranchers are having some success. But aviation, and particularly aviation manufacturing in Kansas, is a huge component of our state's economy, especially in south central Kansas, the region surrounding Wichita. But it's true in lots of places. And there are international air shows. This year, the one was outside of London in a place called Farnborough. And we've teamed up with the Wichita Greater Partnership, their economic development arm in south central Kansas, to host a reception and to try to bring internationally, as well as people within the United States who are visiting the show, to have exhibits with our Kansas manufacturers and to promote the work they do and can do. And it's really become the largest reception at the air show. And again, designed to create more and better jobs across Kansas, but especially in the aviation industry. And it seems to be working. And with the problems that we've had in commercial aviation with COVID and flight cancellations, the safety issues that have occurred, we're also trying to make sure that we're doing more defense work and more space work. And that's growing in Kansas as well. So it's just another effort to try to make certain that another generation of Kansans have opportunities to live and work, raise their families in our state.
That was Senator Jerry Moran. To hear the full interview, visit Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network on YouTube or Facebook, or KFRR_official on Twitter. For the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network, I'm Caitlin Walters.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game, outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
When it comes to growing soybeans, you need an advantage. And with Zetavo soybean seed, you get a big one. 3.4 bushels per acre big. It's a yield advantage made possible by BASF genetics, proprietary germplasm, and industry-leading seed quality. Talk to your retailer today about staying ahead of the game with Zetavo soybean seed from BASF. Zetavo soybean seed.
Summertime is here, and so are your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores with anything and almost everything you need for these warm days. Give your place a new look with Benjamin Moore paints. Keep your lawn looking its best with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. And they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills from Traeger and Weber, plus the popular flat-top Blackstone griddles. Find it all and much more at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Colby and Goodland. Open every day but Sunday.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
With Ross Volkmer.
Continuing on the Morning Blitz, an interesting story I just heard on the Dan Patrick show here this morning. They're talking about, college football is going to get the week started here, or the season started here coming up Saturday. And, of course, the big game will be Georgia Tech, Florida State, which, by the way, the money's kind of shifting from Florida State over to Georgia Tech for this Aer Lingus Classic over there in Dublin, Ireland. But the story that's kind of interesting is the story about the last game of the day, which is Hawaii hosting Delaware State. which, by the way, when that game kicks off, when Delaware State kicks off against Hawaii, in that game happening in Hawaii, that game will kick off at midnight Eastern time. So the time that Delaware State usually is living on, they'll kick off at midnight. It's when there are. And so that is going to be a massive challenge for Delaware State. And they've already had issues trying to get flown, pretty much halfway across the country or across the world to get from Delaware to, LA to Hawaii. It's taking a whole lot of work to get that done. And so to say I feel bad for Delaware State, I do. And that's certainly going to be a challenge, and we'll see how they handle it here on Saturday. None of us will get to watch that game. It's going to be on some sort of, pay-per-view thing, I guess, if you want to. But nonetheless, let's move on here on the Morning Blitz. Once again, we're doing our area high school football previews. We've visited, of course, with Jeff Hennick and talked with Kyle Gefeller. Now we're going to head east and visit with the head football coach of the Hoxie Indians, Lance Barr, who has got himself a really good football team coming into this upcoming 2024 season.
Coach, good morning. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate the time. And how's it feel to be back in school?
It feels pretty good. It's exciting. The kids are back in the building, and that first day of school, everybody's excited and ready to catch up and be around their friends some more. So definitely a lot of talking going on, and I'm sure that excitement will wear off shortly. But it's good to see everybody back in the building.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how long does that excitement last from your experience?
For sure a few days, probably the first week. Once we get that second week started, it seems to calm down and kind of get back to normal, I'd say.
How was the summertime, not only for you personally, but for the Hoxie Indian football program?
Yeah, we had a good summer. We had good turnouts in the weight room this summer. We attended 3 different camps, and I feel like we got better. We learned a little bit more about our team that we had coming back, and we're definitely looking forward to see what can happen this season.
3 different camps is way more than I guess I would consider most average teams do. Why 3 camps, and what 3 camps were they?
So they're just one-day camps. We used to go to, like, Fort Hays would have a 3-day camp. They've since kind of went away with that, and kind of the one-day camps seem to be more popular now. So it doesn't seem as much as it really is, but each one I felt like we got some good out of it. So the first one we went to was at Fort Hays, and just a one-day camp, and a lot of good quality teams there, and we were able to try and figure some things out. So the other 2 camps we went to were epic football camps. One was in Cambridge, and we were going to do 2 epic camps, but I don't think we did the second one. Typically we go to Waukene, but we couldn't make that work. We had some conflict, so I guess we just did 2 of those camps this year.
Tells you the kind of summer you've had. Can't remember what camps you went to.
Yeah.
With that being said, what do you hope to find out during camp? I'm assuming you just kind of like to see your guys against different competition, but are there other things? Are there fundamentals and stuff that maybe the camp hosts try to teach the kids? What do you try to learn?
Yeah, this year at Fort Hays, they kind of went away from that aspect of the Fort Hays coaching on the fundamentals there, but typically they would split them up. Since they moved to a one-day, they kind of took the coach's opinions into consideration, and a lot of those opinions were they wanted to get out there and basically play against other teams and more situational football type of situations. So the Fort Hays camp was a lot of that, a lot of situational stuff or just rotations, and then short games in the afternoon there. And then the epic camps are kind of split with a pretty decent chunk of the morning session is spent with the epic coaches that they get. They get some college coaches and previous high school coaches or college athletes to come and coach the individual sessions there. So we get some individual technique and stuff there. And then they do a little bit different. Everything's kind of a competition with Epic. So everything that we do is a competition. We're awarded points. So every rep we're going against another team, whatever that situation may be, we'll get a point. And they also do like a tire flip, where they award a tire flip champion of the camp, and they award have several other awards with offensive player, defensive player, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, things like that they give to the kids. So it was good, and I felt like our kids really enjoyed that Epic camp and the competition aspect of it.
We're visiting with the head high school football coach of the Hoxie Indians. That's Lance Barr here on the Morning Blitz on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Overall, how did you feel like the kids did at these camps, and was it better than what you thought? About the same? How did that all stack up?
Well, when you're in the summer, it's hard to get your entire football team together, and those camps, each of them, we didn't have our full 23 roster there, so it was a little bit difficult. We couldn't see what everybody could do, but we got some good ideas. Last year we had 3 seniors on the interior line. That was going to be kind of a question mark for us, guys that are going to step in there. And we're able to see this summer some guys rotate through those positions and see where they kind of stood, through the off season, which was nice. And other than that, just getting guys back familiar and comfortable. I feel like when we get started, as we got started yesterday, that attending those camps, it just helps familiarize yourself with the system, the terminology, and things throughout the summer. That way, when you hit, your first day of football camp, you can really focus on your schemes and your fundamentals and teaching all that stuff. But it's a lot. We had a little refresher throughout the summer, so I just think it helps them guys pick it up quicker.
How about summer in the weight room? How was the attendance there, and how many games did you have?
Yeah, we had a pretty good summer. I think everybody deals with kids going on vacation and doing that thing, and that's great for them. And but overall, we had right around that 20 number in the weight room all summer. Our seniors especially, took a leadership role in that, and we're very senior heavy this year. And just trying to get those guys to be committed to the weight room and hold them accountable. So it was good to see some of that leadership, in our upper classes, just trying to get guys in there and put in the work and be committed, and just really start that team aspect.
Hoxie High's Lance Barr, our guest here on the Morning Blitz. Looking back to last year, the 2023 season went 9-2, was pretty dominant in most games. Did have a couple of close ones against Hill City and Rollins County, and then picked up a couple of wins in the postseason. How would you rate last year when you look back at it?
Yeah, I think looking back at it, it was that loss in the sectional playoffs to Saline was disappointing. It's always tough when you lose a game in the postseason, that high caliber. We're trying to move on to sub-state and have a rematch with Wichita County. So that was tough for us. We really wanted to get back and have that second opportunity to play Wichita County, but it didn't work out. So that was disappointing. But throughout the season, I felt like we got better as the season went on. We kind of worked, our offense and defense to the strengths of our players, and that we were really ready to see them again. But it just makes us more hungry for this year, especially as I mentioned, the seniors quite a bit. But we got 10 of them coming back, and these guys are very hungry. So as disappointed as we were with that loss in the playoffs, I think it can motivate us a little bit moving forward.
Yeah, you've mentioned a couple times this is a big senior class. That usually bodes well for pretty good seasons ahead, usually in 8-man football, I would say.
Yeah, well, so ever since these guys came in as freshmen, we knew, if we could get them to stick together and, make it to their senior year, that they were going to be something pretty special. As a group in junior high, they were successful. And one thing has always been a kind of a concern from the outside was kind of their size. They're not the biggest group, but like I said, they've put on they've put a lot of work in the weight room. They've gotten stronger. They're not all the biggest kids in the world, but we got several of them that are right in that athletic weight range, ranging from 165 to 190 pounds. So I think we're going to have the right size where we need it, and we have a good mix of skill players and lineman type players in that senior class as well.
How do you go about, and you can do it more as an 8-man and 6-man football, but how do you go about, working around the lack of size in the trenches? How do you go about that as a coach?
Well, you can do some things with your linemen, that's gonna play more to their strengths if they're not as big of a player. But like I said, we do have some size, and we have a little bit of depth on the line too. So we have some of that size that they're better with certain schemes like inside zone and just more power football. We're not moving them around a whole lot. We're just moving forward. And then we have some smaller 170 to 185 pound linemen, which really isn't a bad sized lineman, but obviously they're going to be a little bit quicker on their feet, and they're better at doing a lot more of the pulling and moving guys around a little bit. So, and the outside zone type blocking. So we got to play to our strengths. And after working with these guys for a few years and this summer, and even after yesterday's practice, we have depth there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we could roll through 5 or 6 guys within our interior linemen, on any given week.
Lance Barr, our guest, Hawks High School head football coach, joining us here on the Morning Blitz and the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. One thing I've always been impressed by your players, your coaches, and you, coach, has been your ability to stay balanced on the offensive end. You guys can throw it and you can run it. How important is that each and every year you go into the season?
Yeah, I think it's important. I like throwing the ball. I think the last several probably years, since about 2019, we might rely on it a little bit more than we like to. If you look back, several years ago to 2017, we pounded the rock and played really great defense, and we were able to do that. We were good up front. We had a good backfield, and we were able to control the line of scrimmage a lot. So, establishing a run is very important. And staying balanced. You can't run the ball if you're forced to pass every time. It's just that much more difficult. But if you're able to do both, it just kind of helps open up both of those things. But obviously, we want to establish the run, and I think that starts up front. And one thing I feel like it has also changed, since back then in 2015s, 2017s, is the way defenses play. You're seeing a lot of different types of defenses, a lot more blitzing, a lot more pressures. So that has caused some of the run game to be a little bit more difficult. The guys are loading the boxes and just making it harder to run. So a lot of teams have a hard time throwing the ball, and defenses have gotten smart, and they want to pressure you guys into throwing the ball a little bit more. And if you have a quarterback that can do it, you can make those defenses pay. So week to week, depending on who we play, what fronts we're getting, it's going to determine how we're going to play the game. But the run game's always very important.
Well, we haven't talked much, but just a quick question about the defense. How do you think you'll stack up on the defensive end this year?
Yeah, I think defensively, that's going to be our strength this year. We lost only 2 players off our defense from a year ago. So, our front will be mainly intact. We're missing, Jonathan Mater, who is, a top 8 linebacker, a guy that you just can't replace. Very athletic, but, and our secondary will have to have a piece to replace an Isaac Dirks. But I feel like we got guys that are ready to step in, and the guys that are returning, I feel like have gotten better also. So, with those things, a couple new guys stepping into the starting lineup, and the improvement in athleticism is going to be huge for our defense, and I think it's going to be tough for teams to score on us.
Lance Barr, our guest here on the Morning Blitz. The thoughts on the schedule this year, not only the regular season schedule, but who else do you think could be pretty good contenders in your guys' division this year?
Yeah, starting off, we have a real tough test in Osborne. They're always a great team in 8-man. They're in Division II, but always in that top 5 ranking. So that'll be a good test for us out of the gate. And then, I'm not sure of the order, but we have a couple league opponents in our non-district play after that, and Ellis and Waukene. So Ellis is just coming down to 8-man football and don't really know exactly what to expect there. So that'll be an interesting one. And Waukene always gets fired up to play Oxy, so they're going to make it a challenge. Within the district, I feel like similar to last year, Atwood's going to be right up there. Coach Schromick's done a great job getting those guys to play hard, and they're going to make it tough on anybody they play, just with the amount of effort and enthusiasm that those guys play with. And Hill City, they've been in the top ranks in 8-man football these last several years. So they're going to be, just a neighbor right up the road. That's going to be a tough test. But I think like those us 3 teams are probably the favorites within the district. But I don't think you can count out Oberlin. I think they're much improved. But I also feel like our district's remains tough, just as it was the past few years. We lose Quinter went to another district, and we added in St. Francis, and that's an old Northwest Kansas League rivalry. So that'll be fun to have back on the schedule, and we haven't seen them for a few years. So and that's kind of another one where we don't know really what to expect. But from across the state, you're looking at the West. I think you always got to include Wichita County. I think they've been a contender for several years. Been in the state championship a lot. So and that's a rivalry for us. We've played in the last several years, and they've gotten the best of us the majority of the time, and then we're ready to kind of make a change there. So I feel like they're going to be one of the best teams in the West. And then, some good teams that we played, like El Saline in the postseason last year. And, Lincoln went down and battled Atwood in the playoffs last year. That's 2 teams that were in the West that moved to the East. So, I think there'll be a couple of good teams in the East. But other than that, I really don't know much about the East, but I think those 2 teams will have some success for sure.
Once again, Hoxie High School head football coach Lance Barr joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Lance, thank you so much for the great conversation this morning. Best luck to your guys. You go through fall camp and getting ready for your first game at Osborne on the 6th, and hope to catch up with you down the road.
All right. Thank you, Ross.
Once again, great stuff there with Lance Barr on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Let's get to a break. We'll come back, wrap up the show with a very interesting story out of Oklahoma State and the Cowboy football program next here on the Morning Blitz.
Your livelihood is important to you. Coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland, or call 785-899-5011.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities, contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. back. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777, 800-230-2777, or biglou.com.
Hi, this is Stephanie Dole with F&B Bank. At F&B, we offer many different types of deposits accounts to help you achieve your financial goals. Whether it be personal checking or savings, business checking account, or a variety of CD options, we're here to help. Stop by our bank directly east at the post office in Goodland or call 785-890-2000 to begin working with me or another F&B Bank team member. F&B Bank, member FDIC.
Start your day with a blitz of sports news, analysis, and interviews.
Sounds like a pretty damn good deal to me.
This is the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Thanks again to Lance Barr. Great conversation there, especially about Hoxie football and 8-man football as a whole out in the region. If you missed any of the conversation, as always, check out the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you can find the Morning Blitz right there. We continue on the Morning Blitz with our final stop here with a very interesting story out of Oklahoma State in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And it's so interesting because there was 2 days ago, I think it was Monday, there was a story that came out that head coach Mike Gundy, who's of course been there a long time, he's one of the longest tenured head football coaches in college football now, made a quote saying something about, to his guys, I don't want to hear anything more about NIL. I don't hear anything more from agents or anything like that. It is now, we are in season with fall camp. It is time to play football, and we're going to focus only on football. Do not come to me with any NIL questions, nothing like that. It is time for football focus. He brings that up. It's not just a little over a day later that an interesting story comes out that Oklahoma State is going to be the first college football program to feature QR code links to a general team fund for student athletes during the 2024 season. But what's going to happen is Oklahoma State on their football helmet is going to have a QR code on the back of each football helmet. And what you're going to be able to do is while you're watching the football game at home on your television, you can supposedly pull your phone out and scan the QR code on the back of the Oklahoma State football helmet, and you can donate on the spot to the NIL Cowboy football program. The codes are about 1.5 inches. They take about 1.5 inches on the helmet space. It's all the bigger they're going to be. The funny thing is that they say, quote, they're expected to be scannable during close shots during broadcasts as well as post-game photos posted to social media. First and foremost, does anybody else think it's going to be very hard? Let's just say you want to do this. You're an Oklahoma State fan, and this is something that you're into. Are you really that excited to get your phone out and scan that QR code? I find it hard enough to even try to do during the Super Bowl when they put the QR code up for 10 seconds. Like, I got to get my phone. And I know the world is different now. I understand that, people are living their lives through their phone. Like they're filming stuff, and I do it. From time to time, I do it myself. But can you imagine, you have your phone, you're like, I like that place. Scan the QR code. Did I get it? Oh, I didn't get it. I mean, it's hard to get the QR code. You think you're able to do that during a live football game? I do think this is a very creative idea, and I could see a lot of teams following this format. I also think it's very, very silly, but this is the world of college athletics that we are going to. It's going to happen. There's another radio show and another podcast I like to listen to. They came with this idea, where you could have it up on the big screen, after a big play. Hey, here's the QR code for these two players, the quarterback, the wide receiver that made this great play. Scan it and pay them money right now. It just seems ridiculous where we're going in college sports, and in such a short amount of time, it's everything is just flying off the wall. That is for sure. Once again, QR codes on the back of Oklahoma State football helmets. I think we're going to see this a lot going forward. I just think, how in the heck are you going to be able to get your phone and scan that quickly? I think it's going to be more difficult than probably people think.
A 3-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
Ex-Trojan football coach Pete Carroll is returning to USC, but not to coach football. He's going to be a teacher there at the college. He is going to be teaching there at USC, as well as advising for some other clubs. Wouldn't specify which ones, but did clarify that they aren't for football. So Pete Carroll back into the college world, but as a teacher. I was trying to see what he is going to be teaching. Yeah, I didn't have any specifics on what that was, what the class will be, but he's going to be teaching at USC with Pete Carroll. And also an interesting story I thought was interesting. The Cleveland Guardians beat the Yankees last night in 12 innings. That's the longest game in 2024. Remember when we used to have 16, 17-inning games? The new rules have kind of prevented that from happening with the runner starting on second base, which is fine. But I guess I read that headline. I was like, 12 innings really doesn't seem like that much to me. But 12 innings is the longest game in 2024 Major League Baseball. Interesting. That'll do it for our program today. We'll be back again in 23 hours. Thanks again to Lance Barr, and thanks, of course, to you, the listener, for tuning on in. We'll see you tomorrow on a Thursday here on the Morning Blitz.
This is where classic rock legends take flight.